All right, guys, this is Charles with the Exodus Logistics Learning Center, America's #1 dispatcher and freight broker training. Today is Dispatcher Sunday, the 24th August 2025. Hey, Mr. Ellis and Amy, what's
Hey,
going on?
hey.
I need a status report. What's going on with you guys? Got a status report for me, Mr. Ellis?
Nothing much going on. Same old, same old. Still out here, pounding this pavement,
Okay.
doing that leg work, that daily grind.
You doing let me bring my dispatcher thing up, my screen real quick. So on the dispatcher side, so we're not talking about the broker side, we're talking about the dispatcher side.
Yeah, right. Dispatcher side.
Okay.
Because I had a couple questions for you too. Because when I go to my load boards, since I have the load, I mean the the broker subscriptions, how do I use that for as far as dispatching is concerned, or is it something just completely separate? Because I mean, the same loads are up there, but for
Okay.
dispatching, I mean, the load that would be posted would have already had the broker's
So you
percentage already taken off.
right, you're
But
looking at it. So you're looking at it from you're looking at a broker level load board, right?
yeah,
And you're trying to decide
for both, but my DAT and the
truck
one
stop
two three.
1, 2, 3.
No, 1 2 3. Yeah,
Okay. Um, well, dispatching would be easy at this point, but you're looking at a broker level load board. You're as a from a okay, I see what you're saying. You because you have a dispatching side and a broker side.
yeah,
So
but I only have the subscriptions for my load board for the broker side. But I'm saying, but seeing it as a dispatcher, like how do you functionalize it? Like I said, because the loads that would be posted
right.
are
Well,
posted up there.
right, it's more advantageous for you then. As a
Hmm.
dispatcher, if you have a broker level login, which you do because you have a broker MC that you're using for it, then you'll see the other brokers who posted the loads and get the rates from a dispatcher's perspective. And you'll still call as a dispatcher as if you were representing your carrier and still go through the same spiel of trying to get the load, trying to get a good rate, things like that.
Because the reason I'm because I made a little bit of a mistake
Uh-oh.
during the week. It was minor. Wasn't like I said, wasn't nothing major or anything like that. Not me just not realizing that because I'm looking at it because I was I was brokering something and I saw a load that was posted and I had contacted one of the carriers that I'd met out at the broker carrier summit, you know, and but they didn't want it because it was, it was going to the East Coast up in New York. So people want to stay out of the East Coast. He was, as far as he's willing to go, I think like PA or maybe Virginia. But anyway, long story short, as I reached out to him, but he didn't want it. But I was talking, got back in contact with the broker. Me not realizing that it was a broker that I was talking to for whatever reason. I'm thinking it's a shipper, like a fool. And he checked the MC number and he realized, wait a minute, hold on, I can't give you this load. You're a broker as well.
Oh, unless you had assets. If you were an asset-based broker, then he could have gave it to you because he got the load and you got the truck. Then you're good.
Right,
But you would have had to have done a broker to broker agreement or
right,
or a co-broker agreement, right?
right.
Yeah.
Mhm. But so in other words, so that load I could have if I had called in as the dispatcher, I would have been able to take that load.
Yes.
That's okay. See, that's the mistake that I was like, damn, I should if I just would have dispatched it instead of done it from the brokerage side. So okay, so that okay, so I'm glad you cleared that up
So
because I was
even though you're logging into a broker level load board as a dispatcher, you can log into a broker level load board, but when you're talking as a dispatcher because you're going to be talking to a broker.
right.
So, and then you just go from there.
Okay. Okay. As I said, well, that's one of those minor mistakes. I'm talking about that's a fixable one. That's what Doc said, to avoid the major one.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's easy. That's an easy one. That's not a big deal.
Okay.
That's not a big deal. Um, So, but other than that, how is it going on your side? On the dispatcher side, I know the broker side, you're still dealing with uh what is it, the insurance situation?
Oh no, I got all that squared away. I had that squared away uh a couple of weeks ago now. Um, but as far as what we talked about the last time, is as far as like the actual coverages that were actually needed, as far as not having to being in a certain situation where you would have to have all the other stuff that I got. So I talked to them about removing it because again, like you said, if it's not a situation where that's going to be frequent or even something that's pretty common for me, ain't no need for it. So I did talk to them. But there is that, they have that little situation in place where you have to have had it for, I believe I think 3.5 months in order to not get charged to remove it because you still would have to pay. It's like a 30% charge to remove it.
Okay, so the type of insurance you got on your broker side was errors and omissions and contingent cargo.
Contingent cargo, um,
Errors and omissions.
contingent auto, and
So why
general liability.
so why did you get so
That was for highway for PT brokers for that co-brokering situation. And you told me, like I said, but if not gonna be co-brokering every single, I should be focused on just the shipper side, dealing with shippers because you'll deal with more shippers that don't require it as opposed to working with a co-broker that might require, you know, me to have all that extra coverage.
right? So let me
Right.
show you. I'm gonna put it on my screen so I can give you a better idea. Um,
Let me
Whiteboard.
where am I at?
All right. See the you got the whiteboard up there.
Yeah.
So what Mr. Ellis is talking. I know this is a dispatch training, but I want to answer his question because you guys, uh, tell me if I'm right or wrong. At some point, you guys, as you're dispatching, you may consider transitioning or pivoting into a broker. Is that one of your thought processes, guys? You may be dispatching now, but are you going to consider pivoting into being a freight broker one day? Yes or no?
Probably at some point.
Yeah, yeah. Is this Mr. Lovett?
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Lovett. Mr. Lovett is the first person that made a GoFundMe contribution to my GoFundMe. I started a GoFundMe for the Exodus Logistics Learning Center because we're having less in-person training, so I don't want to close it down, but we're running the risk of shutting it down. So I said, well, let me try to raise some capital from different sources, and one of the sources was a GoFundMe. So I said, well, reach out to some of my students and see who's willing to give. So he sent, I think it was, what would you say, like 50 bucks?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Uh,
very first contribution.
uh,
So appreciate that.
it's not a problem. Hopefully, I get a chance to come up there and visit at one point, at some point.
And where you located?
I'm in Memphis, Tennessee.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Get out of there, man. It's crazy over there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I need to get out of here.
you need to get out of there. Yo Gotti and all them other guys, get them out of there, man. Go real up.
Yeah. Yeah, this is gonna be my starting point, but eventually I'm gonna get out of here sooner or later.
Yeah, Knoxville, Memphis. They still got it's Fisk University that the HBCU still over there.
This I'm trying to figure out exactly where it is. I've heard of it, but I don't know exactly. I'm not. I wasn't born here. I've been here for a little while now, but
Okay.
I just don't know all the spot. I'm originally from New York,
Oh, what borough?
Manhattan,
Okay, from Manhattan.
Upper West Side, Inwood Heights.
Got you. I already know.
Uh, uh,
So,
Well, I'm from the Bronx.
uh-oh,
okay, yeah,
DX.
okay.
Oh yeah, but this is
Boogie down
70s.
Bronx.
This is 70s New York. This is my mom's oldest brother. Now he passed away now. He used to come he used to come out here, like in the 70s and listen to them stories, him and his buddy would always tell.
Boogie
We were
down.
we were young.
So if you guys who are dispatching now, and you say, well, I'm growing as a dispatcher, I'm getting used to everything. let me continue in the transportation industry and pivot to the next phase, which is either a trucking company or a freight brokerage. Well, if it's going to be a freight brokerage, then Mr. Ellis is doing that right now. He has a dispatch service and a freight brokerage. He's enrolled in the dispatch training and the freight broker training. So Mr. Ellis is has got his authority and gotten insurance. So the type of extra insurance. So as a freight broker, now as a dispatcher, so we're going to cover the dispatcher piece, what you guys are doing now. All you need as a dispatcher is you need your LLC, right? You need the name of your company. And I'm sure you guys, if you haven't done this yet, you haven't formed your company, this could be like a template for you, right? A starting point. So you want to name your company. Example, anything that has logistics in it, because logistics is like an umbrella type of term, like a broad term, right? It encompasses everything, right? Logistics encompasses trucking, it encompasses dispatching, it encompasses brokering, right? So it's kind of like an umbrella name. You're covered, right? So um you want an LLC, you want your EIN, right? That's what you need as a dispatcher. As a dispatcher, you do not need what's called an authority from the FMCSA. You don't need an authority or an operating authority. Now, if you were to be a trucking company or a freight broker, then you are required to have what's called an operating authority, or for a broker, it's a broker license. The form of an operating authority for the broker is called a broker license. The form of an operating authority for a trucking company or a carrier is called a certificate. It's the same thing, an operating authority, it's just worded differently. Okay. And does everybody understand that?
Yes.
Okay. So these are the bare minimum requirements for a dispatch service. Now, after you have conquered these requirements as a dispatch service, then the other things you're going to need, if you don't already have it, you're going to need some kind of um, formal training. Okay. Morning, Jennifer. You're going to need some kind of formal training, right? Or informal training if you want. Formal training, informal training, something that's reputable and known and that knows what they're doing. It could be us, it could be whoever. You just need to train on the workflow of how this is done. How do you dispatch? How do you get the trucks and things like that. So in addition to that, you're going to need your contracts or your paperwork, right? So when I say contracts or paperwork, what do I mean by that? Can you break that down, Charles? Or anyone break that down? And this is as a dispatcher. What do you mean as a contract? We're talking about the dispatch agreement. I'm abbreviating now. Dispatch agreement, right? Carrier profile and limited power of attorney, which makes up what we call our dispatch packet, right? Remember those words we use all the time? Dispatch packet makes up the 3 documents, right? So this is what you need as a dispatcher. And this is on the back end for your company internally, right? You got formal training to understand how to do it, and then you have the contracts. So when you do get a carrier, you know what to give them, right? This is from a dispatcher's perspective. Now, once you do this, or while you're doing that, then the most important thing you need is to be a dispatcher. Well, you got to have a carrier to dispatch for, right? You can't be a dispatcher if you don't have a truck to help find loads for, right? So you need carriers. Carriers, what are the other words? Carriers, truck drivers, owner operators, right? They're pretty much so carriers means more than one. A carrier company has a fleet of trucks, right? Those are called carriers. If you dispatch for a carrier company, they have a small fleet, 3 or better. Okay. So more than one. Truck drivers could be one or many, one plus, and then owner operators, same thing. An owner operator can have a fleet of trucks in there for their company, right? But in any case, these are the individuals that you are targeting, right? So now you ask yourself, well, okay, so I understand what I need to form my business. I understand what I need to learn the business, and then I understand who do I need to target. Now I need to understand how to put those things together to be a successful dispatcher, right? That is the so we're going in an order in a workflow of how this is done. So once you do that, now you got to find them loads, right? You got to get the carriers, get them under a dispatcher agreement or agree for you to dispatch their trucks. Matter of fact, I just got the phone yesterday with a friend of mine who's a reefer carrier. He's switching to some flatbed trailers. He has a buddy of mine. He has a buddy of his that has flatbeds that's looking for dispatchers. So if any one of you want to take on the challenge of dispatching for a flatbed carrier, you would have to understand where flatbed loads run profitably, right? Not just finding loads for them and sending them into and out of areas that they're not going to be able to find freight out of. You got to know where to for whatever equipment type, what are the areas in the country that's most profitable for them. And we have resources that show you that, like trend lines and things like that. So if anyone's interested in that particular flatbed carrier, it's a 48. He has 2 trailers. He has a 48 and a 53-foot flatbed. So anyone's interested in that, shoot me an email and I'll make the introduction.
Okay, I'll email you.
Or shoot me an email and I will here's my email, Exodus. And then I'll follow up with him just to confirm that he still wants that. And we'll go from the exoduslogisticsllc at yahoo.com. And see, I don't even be going after carrier. They come to me. So I just say, okay, well, I'll just give them to one of the students so they can start getting either number one, getting the practice and doing it, number two, starting to make money. Right. Um, so we got to get the carriers. Now we got to understand how to find them the loads, right? We have to understand how do we find the loads? Well, we need what? We need load boards, right? We need to understand how to work the load boards. So I'm giving you this overview from a high level, and then I'm going to jump over to the broker side to answer Mr. Ellis's question. But I want you guys to see that question I'm going to answer from the broker side because, again, if you're going to pivot one day into being a broker, this is something that you may want to have an understanding of, right? So load boards, how to navigate the load boards, the user experience, the interface, how to look for the right loads for the right equipment type, things like that. And then you have to have relationships with brokers. So the brokers are the ones who post their customers' loads on the load boards. The brokers' customers are the shippers, right? The shippers, the manufacturers, the distribution centers. Does everybody follow that? Right?
Yeah.
So we want to keep it high
Yeah.
level. So, and then once you understand that, then you pretty much book the load. Booking the load involves a 2-step process if your carrier's MC or your carrier's authority is not an already approved authority for that brokerage. You guys understand what I just said? If the carrier that you're dispatching for, you call a broker to book a load for them, and your carrier's authority, their MC, is not in that broker system as an approved carrier, then it will be a 2-step process to book the load, right? If your carrier's MC is an approved carrier and in the system of that broker, then it'll be a 1-step process, right? Let me explain what that means. So If no MC is in the if there's no MC as part of the brokerage, or if there's an MC as part of the brokerage, right? So if your carrier's MC is not already an approved MC of that brokerage, there's a two-step process. I'm gonna put two here and then put one here, one step. So the first step is you got to get them set up, right? And what is that process? That's called the broker carrier agreement. Correct?
Yep.
Broker carrier agreement. You got to get them under the contract with the broker. Broker carrier agreement. Good morning, Chasa. So you got to get set up with, your carrier cannot run a load. The reason why number one is important, if your carrier's MC is not a part of the brokerage, is your carrier cannot run a load for any broker if their MC is not an approved MC for that brokerage. Does that make sense?
Good
Yep.
morning.
Yes.
So that's number one. So what's the process of the broker carrier agreement? Well, the broker is going to either send you in an email, an attached PDF, or they're going to send you a link to some type of onboarding software. RMIS, that's onboarding. Assure Assist, that's onboarding. Assure Assist. And the other one is My Carrier Packet. I don't want to, My CP, My Carrier Packets. Those are onboarding links that nowadays most brokers are purchasing onboarding software to streamline their process of onboarding carriers faster so that their workflow is more efficient. Does that make sense? They want to make their workflow as a broker more efficient to bring in more volumes of carriers so that it looks better. So they use software nowadays like Assure Assist, My Carrier Packets, or RMIS. RMIS is the Registered Monitoring Insurance Service. It does property management and transportation onboarding. Okay. So that's step one. Step two is once your carrier is approved by step one, and before I go to step two, what's involved in step one is they're going to send you the broker carrier agreement. The broker's going to send it to you, the dispatcher. They'll ask, who do I send it to? Either the carrier or a representative of the carrier. And well, who is that? That's the dispatcher. That's you. So you send it to your email. Now you can blind carbon copy or just carbon copy the carrier so that you can remain transparent with them. Matter of fact, that's probably a good idea because you want them to know what you're doing. You don't want to, there should be no mystery between you and the person who's helping you make money, which is the carrier. Agree or disagree?
Absolutely agree. Yeah.
All right.
Agree.
All right, my wife just texted me and said, tell the students I said hi. Okay. My wife just said hi, guys. So there you go. I did my job. All right. So that's the first process, broker carrier agreement. So what's involved in the broker carrier agreement? It's the contract, the broker carrier agreement page, and then the broker is going to want to vet your carrier. So they're going to want to see things that they think qualifies your carrier. Well, what's one thing? Their MC number, their MC authority, right? They want to know that this person has the authority governed by the FMCSA. What does the FMCSA stand for, guys?
Federal
Motor Carrier Safety Administration.
Exactly. FMCSA. That's the governing body. They are under the umbrella of who? DOT. What is DOT?
Department of
Exactly. It's a federal agency, Department of Transportation. So they are governed under DOT. They regulate handing out authorities to freight forwarders, freight brokers, motor carriers. Okay. And there's different types of authority. So a broker says, okay, we value the FMCSA's judgment on, and we say this document, if you got a document from the FMCSA saying that you are an authorized motor carrier licensed to move, transport goods, that's acceptable to us, says the broker, right? Another thing is they need to see your your carrier's COI. What is COI?
Certificate of Insurance.
Certificate of Insurance. They need to see your carrier's certificate of insurance because not only do they want to be satisfied that your carrier has the authority to transport freight, but they want to be satisfied that your carrier has the insurance to cover what they have the authority to transport. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. Now, within the COI, there are some minimums. There are cargo and liability. The carrier must carry cargo coverage because they are transporting what? Cargo. They're transporting good. A lot of this stuff is just common sense. You think about it, like, man, duh. Right. So they're carrying cargo, so they have to have cargo coverage. Now, the minimum requirements most companies require, for lack of a better word, is 100,000 and cargo. That's minimum. 100,000 minimum cargo. Okay. And then also the carrier needs to carry on that policy liability coverage. Liability consists of two things, BI/PD. For those of you who don't know what that means, BI is bodily injury, PD is property damage. Okay? Those two encompasses the concept of liability. If you injure someone bodily or yourself as a carrier, or if you damage property or property is damaged also, then the carrier could be liable. Go ahead, Mr. Ellis, you have a question.
Yeah. Just as far as the minimum for the cargo is concerned, it just popped into my head about at what point would you carry more than 100,000 in minimum cargo? I mean, obviously it's for specialty items, I'm sure. But like, for example, let's just say if you're dispatching for a flatbed, an oversized load, wouldn't that be considered when you need more coverage for something like that? Because I would assume that those.
Not only will you need it, but they'll tell you if you're doing an oversized load, overdimensional load, and you want to be the carrier, or your carrier wants to be the carrier that carries that, the person who's transporting that or issuing that shipment will let you know the requirements. Most oversized and overdimensional loads, cargo requirement is beyond 100,000 minimum. It's like more like 250.
250. Okay.
So yeah, and then
So that would be the minimum for an oversized load.
it wouldn't be the minimum, but it would be an amount. I mean, the minimum still could be 100,000 because there are oversized loads that are still within the 100,000 minimum.
Right, within 100. I thought so. I was just kind of curious, like, because at what point? Because, like I say, because again, like I say, because I'm just saying in terms of what you cover in
Now,
terms of
if you're a
policy.
carrier, if you're an oversized carrier, you do that regularly. Just oversized, you don't do nothing else. You don't do standard.
You already have it then.
You have a 500,000 cargo. You carry
Yeah.
500,000 cargos because you can afford it. If you're doing an oversized load and you're picking it up and you're going a 7,500 mile distance, but it's paying $12,000, you mean tell me you can afford a $500,000 policy?
Right. And that is for the carrier, not the well, I mean, obviously the dispatcher doesn't have to have it because the dispatcher
No,
doesn't have it.
that's the carrier because the person who's transporting the freight has to be able to cover that. And that's obviously that's the carrier, not the broker. Now the broker can be listed as a certificate holder on the carrier certificate issues, and you already familiar with this because we did that on your broker side. We were talking about that the other day. But yeah, they can list themselves as a certificate holder, which attaches them, the broker, to the carrier's insurance, right? While they're under that load.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So, and then liability, BIPD, bodily injury, property damage, the minimum is 1 million. Now, can you carry more? Yeah, whatever your budget as a carrier dictates, of course you can. But most of your carriers, if they're going to be hauling general freight, like a drive-in, flatbed, or a reefer, they're going to carry the bare minimum just to get started, especially if you're a new carrier. You don't have the money yet. You can't afford it. You're going to carry the bare minimum just to get on your feet and start generating.
Now, is there a maximum?
There typically is, but cargo, I've seen as high as 1 million cargo, and I've seen as high as 5 million liability. That's the highest I've seen. I can't say
I've seen that too. I saw that too.
Right.
Okay. I thought maybe so that would be the maximum.
I wouldn't say the maximum. I've seen it as high as that. I can't say it's the max. It may be more, but whatever your budget dictates, the more insurance coverage you have, the more skin in the game you are, and the more likely you'll get those better paying loads because you can cover them. Now but you still have to perform as a carrier. You can have all the insurance in the world.
Right.
The load correctly, then you're going to be having a lot of claims on your insurance, which is going to drive up your premiums or maybe even cancel your coverage, which puts you out of authority service because now if you don't have insurance, you don't have an authority. Because part of getting your authority active, one of the requirements is you have to carry insurance as a motor carrier, right? So the broker is onboarding the carrier, certificate of insurance, authority, and then also the W-9, right? They need to see that this carrier is a business. They have an EIN registered to their company, and now these are just the minimums. They can have, there's other ones too. Like if your carrier is dealing with what's called a factoring company, right? If they do factoring, they'll either use the broker's factoring company, depends on who offers the better rate, the better percentage. They'll use the broker's factoring, quick pay or whatever. Because when a broker offers quick pay, they are leveraging their factoring company to pass the cost to the carrier. That's what quick pay is. Okay. Or the carrier can use their own factoring. So and here's the situation too. A carrier can have factoring, but yet still use the broker's quick pay factoring form because the broker's quick pay factoring form offers a better percentage rate than their factoring company. They just won't use them on that load. Okay. Yep. They still have factoring. All right. So that's number one, to get onboarded. Number two, once you are onboarded, then all you need now is a rate confirmation or a load confirmation, confirming that particular load and future loads going forward. Because all you need to do with a broker is on board with them one time. You don't have to on board with a broker for every load that you book with that same broker. You don't have to do a broker carrier agreement every time. You guys understand that, right?
Yeah.
You only have to on board with the broker one time and get approved. But for every load with that broker that you do a rate confirmation with and book, you have to do a rate confirmation for each shipment, each load, right? But that's how you officially book a load or get set up with a broker and move freight for a broker with whom your carrier's MC was not established with them yet. Okay. That's the first scenario. The second scenario is if your carrier's MC was established already in their system, then there's only one step, and that's the rate confirmation, because you've already established a connection with the broker because you're already set up, or your carrier is already set up with that broker. They're already onboarded. So all they got to do now is just negotiate the rate, come to terms with that. What is that number? Add your percentage on it, and then decide what the rate is. You guys get this?
Yeah, absolutely. I did have a quick question though,
Mm-hmm.
and it's regarding insurance. And I'm just getting back into the industry. At one point, wasn't it 750,000 for liability?
It's
And has
always,
that changed?
so that's a great question. It's always 750,000 is the minimum requirement for any commercial insurance to have commercial insurance. When I say a million,
Right.
when I say a million, the minimum, that's for the brokers. They're requiring, so great question. So 750,000 is the minimum requirements for to have commercial insurance, Progressive, State Farm, with any commercial insurance company. That is their minimum requirement. But most brokers and customers are requiring now 1 million. So it just makes sense. If you're going to work with most brokers and customers, why not just up your insurance an extra 250,000 to the million? You met the requirement of 750. Now, can you get lows with a 750,000 coverage? Of course you can. Some brokers will still onboard you and move you with 750,000. But if the majority of them are saying they want 1 million, then get 1 million, carrier, right? If you want to run.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for answering that. So that's more the 750,000, that's more suited for the carrier than the 1 million that's more suited for the broker.
Right. So the carrier, the 750,000 is more suited for the carrier meeting the requirement to have commercial liability coverage, period. The 1 million is meeting the requirement for the carrier to have coverage, but to also work with those brokers who are requiring that amount and who are giving the better loads at $1 million.
Yeah.
Some brokers won't move a load with you if you only have 750,000. Some brokers will, but some of them don't. You can, if you have a carrier that has 750,000 on their insurance policy, you don't turn them away because you can still find loads for them with brokers, right? You may happen to come across a broker and say, "Hey, man, we want to give you this load. We noticed that your carrier's insurance is only 750,000. We require $1 million." Oh, I'm sorry. Let me talk to my carrier and then have a conversation with that. Have your carrier, the carrier will call their insurance agent on the policy and say, "Hey, man, can we up that from 750 to $1 million? Yeah, that'll be an extra 75 to $100 a month on the premium. If you can afford to do that, we'll go ahead and make it $1 million instead of 7." It's that simple. Or
Yeah.
it could be as
Okay.
difficult as not being able to do it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Yeah, it's just like you said, it's just a matter because if you're getting that arrangement, likely the load will be paying a little bit more. So that should cover the extra insurance cost. And it's just a matter of making a phone call to as a dispatcher, first to the carrier, and then the carrier making that arrangement to reach out to their insurance company and say, "Hey, let's raise this to $1 million."
Correct. Jocelyn, you got your hand raised.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Charles.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. So when I was dispatching for power only, when my driver was going to pick up a trailer, because he was tired of being power only, we ran into someone and he didn't have enough insurance. And what he was able to do was he was able to call his insurance company and get the policy adjusted just for that specific load. Is that something that's still happening? Like, can drivers still just get that
yeah.
increased insurance for per load?
Right, that is a one-off. That is correct. That is a one-off. Now, if you start to call your insurance or the carrier start to call their insurance a lot and there's a frequency in that, then the insurance agent will like, well, you might as well just up it to $1 million. Don't just call us for these one-offs, but frequently. If you're gonna do that all the time, just up your policy to $1 million. But yes, that does happen. There's a word for it. It's like a one-off, but I can't remember the word that they use for it, that they just do it for that one shipment. But yes, that does happen, Chasa. And how's the company you working with? How's that going?
Oh boy, you don't open up a can one, but I'll tell you,
Okay.
on Monday I will be resigning from the company that
Oh
I
my
decided to
God,
work
what in
with.
the world? Grand opening, grand
Yeah,
closing.
that's just how it goes. But I gained a
Are you
lot of knowledge.
dispatching or
So
brokering?
I actually was working in their excuse my door. I actually was working in their tracking department, and I was working hand in hand with the dispatching department as well.
You were tracking with what? Four kites? You were tracking with Macro Point?
No, so this was a pharmaceutical company
Gotcha.
that does trials, drug trials, and one of the pieces of that is they put trackers, physical trackers, in the medication in the parcel, because that's all part of explaining to the FDA if the trial was basically if the trial stayed on point, for lack of a better word.
Right.
And so that's what I'm doing when I say trackers. But the thing is, this company also uses medical couriers. Now, I've heard so many things about medical couriers on YouTube, but I never thought about maybe trying to be a dispatcher for a medical courier. So now it's opened my eyes to say I can dispatch for the big boys. I already know that. I already figured out how to do all of that. But then there's somewhere else that I can pivot in dispatching, and that's for the medical couriers.
So in order to dispatch for medical couriers, you got to have enough, I guess, just like with regular guys, you got to have enough freight for them, right? You got to have contracts with these, like you say, pharmaceutical. I used to work with a pharmaceutical rep, and we would have truckloads come into our warehouse, sort the freight, stage it, and then these pharmaceutical reps would come in and load their vehicles, whether it's an SUV, Sprinter van, whatever, box truck, and because they're going out to doctors' offices and testing these products and selling them. They're making six figures, right? So farm reps, we call them. So same thing with the couriers. They're just doing it on a smaller scale. They may take some products and either take them to the CVS and Rite Aids and the different drugstores or doctors' offices and things like that. So, yeah.
Right. These particular drivers, they were like Uber drivers, to be honest with you. They were like Uber drivers, and they would go into people's homes and they would drop off the medication to the nurse.
Right.
And it was an experience, Charles. It definitely was an experience and an eye opener. And like I said, it now lets me see if I want to pivot somewhere different or do dispatching for owner operators and fleet owners, as well as dispatch for medical couriers. Thank you.
Okay.
So yeah, it was an experience, but I'm parting ways on Monday.
Okay. I'm sorry to hear that.
And I'll be. It is what it is. Thank you. But I will be doing cold calling classes again in September.
Okay.
So for the month of September.
Send me the dates so I can put them on the website. If you notice, I took the old dates down. So
I will definitely do that. It's going to be a little bit different from before. I've been doing cold calling for well over a year, and I haven't been charging for cold calling. So now, for the month of September moving forward, there's going to be a fee. I haven't decided what that fee is going to be. It's not going to be crazy though, but I'm just finding that people are committed in the beginning, and then they fall off, and then they come back in the end. And at the end of the day, it's a lot of time that goes into cold calling when we cold call carriers, and I'm also teaching them as well. So moving forward.
Can I say something to that, if you don't mind?
Go ahead. Yeah.
This is my 2 cents. Well, on both sides, don't take it the wrong way. Chasa, don't take this the wrong way, and the people who's going to cold call, don't take it the wrong way. Cold calling, I got to put the work in, right? If I'm going to pay for the service, I'm going to pay for the service. I'm going to put the work in because I pay for the service, but I don't want to say I want to be guaranteed of getting a carrier because I can't. The person who's teaching me the cold calling cannot guarantee I'm going to get a carrier. That's part of my effort of doing what I was taught. So it's a two-way street, right? I just want you guys to be mindful of that, right? If I'm going to pay something, there's no guarantee I'm going to get a carrier, only the guarantee that I'm putting in the work based off of what I was shown to get the results. And I'm showing it from a person who's proven that can get carriers, right? So if you got a person who has a resume of getting carriers, I'm paying for the service. There's the reason I'm going to get a carrier based off of what I'm being shown and taught. So that's just my 2 cents. Okay? Now your price points, we can have a conversation about that. Let me answer Zach's question. Zach, go ahead, Zach.
Hey, Charles, can you hear me?
Yes. What's up, Zach?
Not a whole lot. I was just curious, I'm taking the steps now, since I completed the program and the modules and stuff. Taking the steps to just start getting my feet wet with cold calling carriers. So kind of like links off what you were just talking about.
Perfect
time. But yeah, just like I'm on 123 load board. Okay. And then I tried getting on DAT, but didn't have like a carrier's MC authority number since I'm not linked up with any carriers. So 123 load board doesn't make you have an MC and authority number, so you can get on there without having any of that stuff. So right now I'm just kind of looking up carriers. I just wanted to know if you had any good ideas or thoughts about connecting with carriers on cold calls, specific things to say, like how would you start that conversation?
Well, the perfect person is right on the call. Chasa? But yes. So if you put yourself, here's what I used to do. Put yourself in the mind of the truck driver that needs a dispatcher. If someone calls you soliciting that type of service to you, what would you want to hear in order to satisfy you to offer them to be your dispatcher? Now that can help you answer your question, right? So if I was to call you, or if you were to call me as a dispatcher and I need a dispatcher, but you don't know that, that I need a dispatcher. But what are some of the phrases and things that you would want to hear from me that I'll say, oh man, I can use your services, right? Well, I have a problem. I have an issue. I can't keep my trailer loaded. I need good paying loads. I want to go to areas that's going to keep me profitable, particularly for my equipment type, because one of the first things you're going to ask the carrier is what type of equipment type they have, meaning what type of trailer they have, whether it's a drive-in trailer. And by the way, you want to focus starting out on the three major types of trailers, the three major equipment types: the drive-ins, 53 feet, the flatbeds, 48 or 53 feet, and the reefers, 53 feet. Those are the major equipment types that you want to start off as a new dispatcher to get your feet wet. Why do I say that? Because those are the ones that are out here on the roads the most. If you go on major interstates, throw a rock, you're going to hit one of those, right? You're not going to hit a box truck. You're not going to hit a Sprinter van, a hot shot, more so than you will one of those. That's just a fact. That cannot be disputed. You can try and enjoy, but it's not going to be disputed, right? They're out here on the roads the most. You can find freight or cargo or loads for them on the load boards the easiest because they're the most utilized equipment types. A lot of stuff just makes common sense, right? And they pay the better rates. Stands to reason, since they're the larger equipment types, they hold more freight. They have more capacity. Well, if you have more capacity, stands to reason it's going to pay more money than a box truck, Sprinter van, or whatever, right? Are you following me, Zach, so far?
Yes. Yeah. The three major equipment types, the 53 feet dry vans, 48 to 53 feet
Flatbeds.
flatbeds, and then the 53 feet reefers are what's out on the road the most. So for new dispatchers, that's
Right.
what they have the probability of getting the most.
Right. So you want to increase your likelihood and probability of landing one of those types of shippers, because once you do, then finding loads for them will be a little bit more easier than it would be for the box trucks, Sprinter vans, and cargo vans. I'm trying to avoid a lot of headaches for you guys because I've been through the headaches. I used to dispatch box trucks and Sprinter vans and cargo vans. That's why I'm bald. That's why I ain't got no hair, because I pulled it all out. So I discovered over time and trial and error, those specialty equipment types. If you have specialized contracts with them, you can flourish with that. But if you want to just start off as a new dispatcher, getting your feet wet, and you have no experience whatsoever, then target the larger equipment types. We have another gentleman that just came on too that can answer that, Mr. Douglas, with the questions of like cold callings and what to say and how to say it like that. Mr. Douglas, provide some input. So Mr. Zach Coffee asked a question about like cold calling and what are some of the things you would say? How would you target? What kind of campaign you would do to kind of get the carriers only under the cold call space, not any other way, but just the cold call space.
Oh, in the cold call space?
Yeah.
Basically, you just want to set up your cold call in three different ways: your opening, your main body, and your finish. So if I'm calling, let's say Shamika, I'd be like, "Hello, is this Shamika McKnight?" She'd be like, "Yeah, hey, how you doing?" Like, "Well, hello, my name is Douglas Lapsley, Lapsley Freight Dispatching. Thank you for taking my call." So the first thing I'm telling her is I'm thanking her for answering my call. That's the first thing I'm doing. And then she might be like, "Okay, what can I help you with?" Then I would say, still in my opening, "Well, I'll be up front, Miss McKnight. This is a cold call. So if this is not a good time, I completely understand." So not only am I thanking her for me interrupting her day, I'm actually telling her what type of call it is. And I'm actually giving her out that if this is not a good time, can I call back later? So the first thing in a cold call is you want to try to lower the defense so you're able to actually be allowed to have a conversation.
Right, because you don't know that, and that's a great point, Douglas, because you don't know, because it's a cold call, you don't know whether or not you're inconveniencing that person at that point in time when you call them. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Douglas.
And then if she says, okay, she's like, all right, what can I help you with? Well, then I'd be like, well, Miss McKnight is what I can help you with. I work as a logistical back office asset to owner operators like yourself regarding your transportation operation. because you are not just a dispatcher, you're actually a logistician, Jack, because you're looking at all the logistics on the commodities that's going to be moved by the carrier that you're dispatching for. So that's actually going to be the logistics asset of it. So you're actually a logistical back office asset to that owner operator regarding their transportation operation. So by also saying that, you're letting the carrier know that they're not just truck drivers, they're actually a transportation operation. And then would you be open for a quick conversation for about a minute? And let's say that Amy says, yeah, okay. So then now you're going into some of your main body. So I would just ask, the first question is, what is the one thing you wish that was easier about your transportation operation, about running your operation? What is the one thing you wish was easier?
Money. I'm gonna be the carrier. I'm just go ahead and knock this out. Money.
Okay, money. So that makes sense because we all want to make money.
And I'm also tired. I'm gonna be them difficult carrier. And
Go
I
ahead.
don't mean to cut you off, sir, but I'm pressed for time, so a minute is all you got. But I am I'm tired of I fired my old dispatcher. They kept sending me to places I couldn't get out of, and
Hmm.
uh the race was trash, and
Okay.
they just didn't understand what I wanted, even though I literally told them when they first called me what I wanted, but it seemed like the person wasn't just listening.
Right. Okay, that's good. So what I just heard from what you just told me was money and the target rate for those areas are not matching up. And am I hearing that right?
That's absolutely right.
Okay. So this is the reason why you don't need a dispatcher. You actually need a logistical back office operator. Because the difference with a dispatcher and a logistician is a dispatcher actually helps you find load.
So I'm
You can
sorry,
do
sir.
that.
I'm sorry,
You
sir.
can
I'm an old school driver. What the heck is a logistician?
open the door. I'm
What the
sorry, that was
what the
somebody at the door.
what the heck is a logistician? I'm an old school carrier. I don't know what a logistician is.
A logistician is someone who takes a step back and looks at the entire logistical picture, like how you move, when you move, where you move, the rates at which you.
Oh. So you said a dispatcher.
Right. Well, not necessarily a dispatcher, because guess what? A dispatcher, all you have to do is just take a look at a load board and look at loads. Here's where a logistician comes in. I can ask you, okay, what type of vehicle are you running? What type of trucks are you running?
Okay.
Is it dry van, reefer, or flatbed? What type of trucks are you running right now?
I have two 53-foot dry vans.
Okay,
I run out of the Midwest.
253-foot dry vans.
Yeah, I'm out of the Midwest.
Now, with that being said, all right, for those 53-foot dry vans, if a dispatcher was to book you a load, let's say for $2,500, and it was only like 400 miles away, and you go to that location and come to find out that you don't even have the right equipment or even E-tracks to load that particular item, we just wasted your time, we wasted the broker's time, and there's a possibility that you could get freight guarded because I booked a load for you that you were not capable of doing. What a logistician looks at is requirements versus capabilities over time. So a logistician also looks at the capabilities of your equipment. So when they are looking for loads in the lanes that you want to run and actually comparing those lanes with the spot market based on what your carrier preference is, now I have to apply that knowledge into the loads that I find because everything's on a load board. A load board is nothing more than like if you go into, and I know we're talking a little bit more than a minute, but a load board is nothing like is the same as you going to Hulu.
Right.
Hulu is a load board. Netflix is a load board. Your cable TV, that's a load board. That's a load board. You
Right.
don't need me to program your channels. That's what dispatchers do. What a logistician does is actually find what actually meets your transportation preference from all of the capabilities of the equipments that you have, and then try to compare that with what the market is actually putting in the lanes that you're trying to run.
So let me stop there. Zach, how does that sound?
Yeah, confusing a little bit on the logistician side, however you say that.
Right.
So yeah, just more clarification on that. I think I kind of got it a little bit, but it's looking at capabilities of equipment and requirements of equipment over time.
Requirements versus capabilities over time.
Okay.
Because when you look at it that way, from, let's say if we were sending Charles from Virginia to Kentucky, how much time does that take? How many miles is that? Then you're looking at the cent per mile if it's the lane that he wants to run. Does he have the equipment to actually do it? What time is his pickup? What time is his drop off? Because before you can book another load, you need to make sure he's actually at the shipper before you book another load, because sometimes he can get caught up in detention. So all of those things come into the logistical aspects of the dispatching process. But when a person just says dispatcher, the only thing you're doing is just looking at loads and sending them from point A to point B. That is a part of it. The logistical asset of it is, how do I help you move efficiently and effectively to where it raises your capital every single week that you're running, reducing the deadhead and fuel consumption, and you still able to get a decent profit.
Got it.
You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So that is a part of the logistical aspect when you're dealing with the back office in the role of a dispatcher.
So it's like what I do with the shippers that I work with on a weekly basis. There's a difference.
I'll be right back.
There's two terms. Okay, I'm muting. There's two terms. There's a difference between logistics and transportation, right? You guys understand that, right? Let me bring my whiteboard up to kind of bring home that point, to kind of bring home the point with you too, Zach. So bring my whiteboard up. Okay, so we got two words in transportation or in supply chain, right? So you guys heard of the word supply chain, right? Or have you? Has anyone not heard of the word supply chain? Let's say that, right? In a sentence or whatever, right? So in the supply chain, there are different links in the chain, right? You got procurement, you got manufacturing, you got distribution, you got transportation, you got logistics, right? So logistics and transportation. Is there
Excuse me, Charles?
Yes.
I do have a question for Damien when he comes back.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Can I answer it or you want him to answer it?
I want him to answer it. Is that okay?
Yes, that's fine. That's fine.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool.
That's fine. As claiming to be a dispatcher, you can tell them all that without using your new word. Yes, you can, Jennifer. You can dumb it down. So with Douglas, he comes from a Six Sigma and data analyst position, so he uses terms, and he's transitioning and making the switch. But you'll hear different words, and my job is to dumb it down. Well, not dumb it down, but break it down to a more common humanistic perspective so that Zach and everyone else can understand it. But so does everybody in logistics and transportation, is there a difference or not between the two words? Right? Transportation is getting something from point A to point B, right? Does everybody agree to that? Something needs to be transported from point A to point B. Are you guys with me there?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So that's the transportation piece. Logistics is everything before that, before it gets to transportation. So let's say, for example, a customer orders something, right? You got to invoice the customer. Is there enough inventory in it? What is the logistics behind the customer order to transportation? What goes on behind the scenes from that? And I do this on a daily basis with the fertilizer company that I'm working with. The time the customer sends an order through an email, we got to invoice the customer. We got to build the shipment in our system. We got to make sure inventory management has the right products in there. If they don't, we got to order that and have it shipped to the blending plant to produce the product in a time enough to make a truckload, to have it taken to the transportation piece. So logistics is everything behind the scenes prior to that truckload being transported from point A to point B. Point A being the shipping facility, point B being the customer who ordered that initially, the customer order. Everybody follow that? Any questions there? The difference between logistics and transportation. So transportation is more specific with the trucks and the truckloads. Logistics is everything behind the scenes leading up to that. And it's all under the concept of the supply chain.
Charles, what was FTL at the bottom of the
FTL is full truckload. You can have FTL
okay.
or LTL. I'm sorry, yeah. Anything I abbreviate in shorthand, if you don't know it, ask me, I'll break it down for you. So LTL is less than truckloads or partials. FTLs are full truckloads. Okay. Douglas, Chasa had a question for you. Go ahead, Chasa.
Hey, Doug, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, Chasa. I didn't do it. It's Charles' fault.
Listen, I'm looking forward to seeing you in my cold calling. I got a couple of questions for you. So I heard what you said, and it sounds like you are just rebranding a dispatcher, because everything that you said is everything that a good dispatcher, an educated dispatcher, is going to do. That's what we do. So kudos to you, because I like the rebranding name. I think that it automatically commands a higher pay than when we call drivers and they try to give us like 5%. Just off the name alone, it would probably persuade them to want to pay us more. But I also want to ask you, using the verbiage that you are using, have you gotten any drivers with that? Or have you gotten any pushback from that? Or have you even used it yet? So I'm curious to know that part.
Yes, the answer is yes to both. I have one client right now that has 4 flatbed trucks that I'm currently pushing. Been doing that for the last 2 weeks. And the reason I kept using logistician, because they had no type of transportation plan. They had no type of management. They just did not know how to move. They didn't know how to move. And so in that first 2 weeks, we helped reduce about $5,000 to $7,000 in fuel regarding deadhead, because they were just going all over the place. And they were chasing loads, but were going like up to 300 miles of deadhead. And it was really killing the client, even though the drivers were making money. So we were trying to find a good happy medium where the drivers can still make money and to reduce the overhead costs of the actual carrier, because they're running up under his authority. They're running up under that guy's authority. So the reason I kept saying logistician is because now I'm actually helping you manage your transportation operation, and he actually pays me 8%. So I'm doing more than just the dispatching aspect of it. Also, I have had pushback on why do I call it, why do I say I'm a back office logistician and not just a dispatcher? And I say that I'm a logistician in a dispatcher role. I really don't consider it rebranding in a sense, because when you're putting all of that, all of that responsibility on me, I actually am planning, managing, and overseeing the movement of how you distribute your trucks with the commodities that you're picking up, making sure that you have the right equipment, all of those particular things. So I'm doing a little bit more than just, finding loads and booking them. Yeah, I'm a logistician, because that's what logisticians do, with the exception of, storage. With the exception of storage, because transportation is a supply chain. You're moving the commodities through the supply chain via the trucks. So yeah.
Then here's my suggestion to you. Get more money. Get more money than what a dispatcher is going to be paid. Just for the simple fact that Just for the simple fact that according to you, you're doing more than what a dispatcher does. So that's why I was saying kudos to you, because that name commands more pay than what a dispatcher is getting. But if you're a logistician or tactician, pronounce that for me. I want to say it right.
Yeah, logistician.
Okay. Well, if you're that, and I think you should get paid more money just because you're that. Because as dispatchers, we're getting the same thing you're getting. You know what I'm saying? And if you're working more than what a dispatcher who is green, because that's what it sounds like you're doing. If you're working more than a dispatcher who is green,
yes,
then you need to command more money from that carrier. But I also see that he has 4 trucks. So I mean 8% is could be doable because you're dispatching for 4 trucks. But I just wanted to ask you those questions. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in my cold calling class.
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Let me interject a little bit and bring home some terms that can help this a little bit more too. So the word supply chain, right? There's steps in the word supply chain, what it consists of. There's different links in the chain, right? That's why it's called a chain, right? So the first link, and I'll tell you where we come in at from a dispatching, transportation, brokering, trucking piece. Planning, that's the initial phase of supply chain, whether you're going to be a manufacturer, distributor, whatever, a wholesaler, retailer. Sourcing either the raw materials to produce the products, manufacturing to make the finished goods. Delivery is where we come in at, whether from a brokering piece, a transportation piece, a trucking piece, or a dispatching piece. We are in the delivery part of it, or the logistical or transportation piece. Okay, that's what we're number 4. And then number 5, returns. Another word for returns in the supply chain industry is called reverse logistics. Have you ever heard of that term before? Reverse logistics is when goods are rejected. Let's say you deliver something. Let's say, have you ever had something delivered by Amazon or something you ordered from something and you rejected it and they had to take it back? They took it back to their warehouse to send it back to the supplier. That's reverse logistics. Rejected good. So that's number 5. Unwanted products, refurbished disposal, right? So we're under number 4 in the supply chain under the delivery aspect of it. Hopefully I'm sharing my screen because you guys can see it. Am I sharing my screen? When you see the list of the supply chain? Okay, good. All right. I didn't want to go back and have to re-explain it, but that's fine. But yeah, a logistician is someone who is a specialist in logistics, right? And it encompasses everything that Douglas said prior to the dispatching and the transportation piece. Everything before, you're managing the company, and this company that Douglas is doing it for actually needed his service. If you can save them money, and he only saved them money in a particular aspect of their company, which is fuel, because they were deadheading unnecessarily to different places because they didn't understand the terrain or the lay of the land and where to properly send their equipment into and out of. They didn't have an idea of the influx of high volume of inbound and outbound freight for their equipment type and where it's going into and out of. They probably didn't either know it or they probably knew it and just didn't send their trucks over there. It could be any reason, but nonetheless, they were losing money. Douglas saved them, dare I say, thousands of dollars, right?
Yes,
So,
sir.
So I would be more than I'd give you 10%. So 8%.
That's what I'm thinking. They need to pay him more. They need to be giving this man more.
Because
He saved the company.
The dispatching side is the easy side. You're fine
Right.
because you already understand that part. You know where to send them for their equipment type and get loads into and out of that's paying good rates and the driver's willing to go to. What they need help on, it seems like, is their back end support. Their invoicing, their bookkeeping, record keeping, things like that. So,
And Chasa, in those cold callings, when I was doing the cold call and I was giving my, pitching, he says, if you can get me out of this, I'll take your service. And he had those 4 trucks in 4 different areas stuck, and the dispatcher quit. So that
Wow.
whole after that week, I said, I'll tell you what, let's get you unstuck first. I'm not going to charge you a thing. Let's just get you unstuck first. And then over the weekend, we'll go ahead and start filling out the necessary paperwork so we can start the next week fresh. Because that very next week is still going to be digging you out of a hole of you getting unstuck from this week. So the goal is to get you unstuck, get your drivers back to reset so we can fire them out fresh on Monday. And then I told them, when we fire out fresh on Monday, understand that we're going to be chasing loads this first week because there was no backwards planning from everybody going out, everybody coming back in for reset, and there was no research done on loads for the following week for when these drivers are under a load for reset and they go to drop off at their next destination. There's follow-on loads from there.
That sounds familiar. That sounds familiar. Isn't that something that the dispatcher should have been doing?
Right.
No, right.
Right.
Listen, Charles, we're not gonna beat up Doug. We're not gonna do that to you, Doug. And I want you to know that I'm supporting you. I'm definitely supporting you.
I'm saying the previous dispatcher. Isn't that something they should have been doing?
Should have. But hey, I'm the guy now, so
that's right.
Y'all can beat me up as far. All the abuse that I take, as long as it's constructive abuse, only helps me doing what I'm doing.
And I appreciate that. You know, we just joking with you, but I am serious when I tell you need to go for more money. That's what I'm serious about. Seriously, you got these people out of a bind, and I already know you're going to be great at doing it. I already know that. So just try to get some more money. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. I got a few calls from Doug. Doug was like, what's going on here? Is flatbed this? What's going on? Like,
yeah.
So what's the scenario? Anytime somebody called me with a question about a truck, I say, okay, give me the scenario first and let's figure it out. And then we did that, and then he's taking off from there. And then I also get, every now and then he'll give me updates, which is cool. I want to see I like to see everybody's progress and see what you're doing, because it just helps me understand and reinforces what I'm showing and teaching is effective and efficient. So that's it, But Zach, are we okay? I want to make sure that I'm good with Zach. Where is Zach at?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay.
I think this week I'm gonna start, calling, some carriers and doing some cold calls and kind of practicing that transcript that Douglas put out.
So let me
just to see, just get used to conversation.
Yeah. So let me say this too. And cold calling is beautiful. It's cool. You talk to the person. It's more personable. They hear your voice. They hear your tone. Things like that. But remember, cold calling is not the only method of getting a carrier, right? It's starting to become the most popular one, apparently, but it's not the only one. Just keep that in mind.
And you mentioned in your program that you could stop at like popular gas stations like Love's or
the truck stops.
PA or whatever.
Where are you located at, Zach? What major metropolitan city are you near?
St. Louis, Missouri.
Oh, you over there with LaDonna. Okay. LaDonna's our moderator. She's not here today, but she's our moderator. So you can easily go to Google and truck stops near St. Louis, Missouri. And I guarantee you they're going to be some ones that pop up on your major interstate.
Yep, Love's, TA, there we go.
Yeah, and Flying J's, Pilots, Loves, TAs, Petros. I mean, they're all over the place. So you got these interstates literally right here, and we can kind of blow it up a little bit. Well, let's say, I don't want to use the word blow up, but expand. So, but yeah, look at this. And this is all, I'm sure you're familiar with these routes. Interstates, 44, 55, 64.
Yep.
So, and they're giving you the diesel rates or the regular fuel rates, but these are truck stops. Sullivan, Bridgetown, Bloomdale. These are Platoon Beach, Illinois. I'm assuming that's near you. Also, Alorton, Villa Ridge.
Yeah, Illinois is starting to get further out there because I'm like in O'Fallon, Missouri, so I'm actually like 40 miles west of St. Louis.
Okay.
So St. Louis is kind of a drive too, but it's good to see all the all the gas stations that are out there, though.
Yeah, they're concentrated. And so when you do go to if you decide to take that method as opposed to the cold calling, now you have to think of an SOP for that. What is a standard operating procedure? And that's what we need to do. We need to tighten down the back office. That will not me, but as far as for each method of trying to get a carrier, what's the most efficient SOP for that method? And I think Douglas, and I'm gonna get LaDonna too to kind of help me with that. But the cold call and Chasa, since cold calling is her thing, what's the best SOP for the cold calling method? What's the best SOP, standard operating procedure, for the visiting the truck stop method? Well, one idea could be when you go to the truck stop, bear gifts like little trinkets, little snacks here and there for the drivers. Of course, come with your paperwork, your documents, hard copies, right? You want a copy of your dispatch agreement, carrier profile, limited power of attorney to physically hand to them, business cards and flyers. And then, so anything else you can think of. And then not only that, you're just not going to give them to them mute and not say anything to them like, take this. No, you want to say something to them, start a conversation, right? Break the ice. Hey man, are you, I noticed you're a truck driver. I see you with those blue parrot headsets on. I'm assuming you're a carrier, owner operator. Or I should ask, are you an owner operator or a company driver? Because that's important. Because what's the difference? The company drivers, more than likely, chances are 80% of the time, you're not going to be able to dispatch for them because they are internally dispatched with the company that they are a company driver for. But if they are an owner operator, it's their authority, and if they don't work, they don't eat. So you're more than likely to get them to conversate with you, right? So, but once you get past that, hey man, my name is Charles, man. I'm a logistician. So yeah, I'm a logistician, or I'm an independent freight dispatcher. I source freight for owner operators. Are you an owner operator or a company driver? And I see you driving this, and if you could either see them in front of their equipment putting fuel in it, or walking from an equipment type towards the actual lobby or restaurant or restroom, and then just stop them and have a conversation. Hey man, are you an owner operator or company driver? I noticed you coming from that. That's your flatbed, or is that your reefer, or is that your dry van? Yeah, man, that's mine. What you got there, man? What's that, a Freightliner? You breaking the ice now, right? What you got, a Freightliner? Was that a Mac or a Pete? What do you got there? What's in there? What's you got, a DD 214, or not DD 2? That's military. DD 14, or Douglas cracking up, or a DD 14, or a Dirt 13, or you got a Detroit engine in there, or Allison transmission, or whatever, right? So you showing them that you understand some of the verbiage in trucking, right? Yeah, that's a Pete, or that's a Freightliner, or that's a Mac, or that's a K Dub. K Dub is Kenworth's. KW, Kenworth, right? Or Pete, Peterbilt. We call them Pete's, right? I see you got that. That's your skateboard over there? Like, what the heck? Some people don't know that a skateboard, that's a flatbed. Standard flatbed is a skateboard because it looks like a skateboard. It's just a larger skateboard, right? So the verbiage breaks the ice. Yeah, man, what you know about that, man? You know about the skateboard? Oh man, I used to skate. I used to skate up and down these highways, man. Yeah, back in the day, back in the 80s. Oh yeah, what are you doing now, man? Oh, I'm helping my guys now, man. I used to be a truck driver. Now I'm helping my guys find some good loads, man. You interested? Yeah, what you talking about, man? What are you trying to get per mile? What are you working with? What are you grossing per week? What would you be satisfied with? Man, well, right now I'm an owner operator, but I'm getting right now, man. These rates are crazy, man. These brokers, they're taking all the money, and I'm getting about, for my flatbed, man. I'm getting about 7 grand a week. Okay, well that's not bad, man. What if I could tell you I can match that, maybe get you closer to 10? Would you be interested in continuing this conversation? Oh man, what? Yeah, because from what it sounds like, it seems like you're running into areas that's not really profitable for you. If you're only getting 7 for your flatbed for the week, I can get lows close to 7 going. Depends on how far you're going. Like, you're going over the road. Are you local? Are you regional? What are you doing? Right. So you're conversating with them while you can be walking with them to Bojangles Chicken, or to the restroom. They might go in and use the restroom, or taking a shower. Give them the goodie bag. Give them your paperwork. So I need to create an SOP for that scenario, the visiting the truck stop scenario. We need to create an SOP for the cold calling scenario. And then we need to create SOPs for email campaigns, texting, different methods, right, of getting carriers because there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to get a carrier. It seems that the most efficient way nowadays is the cold calling because you're talking directly to them. Now it's on the phone. You would think that visiting a truck stop and seeing them in person would be more efficient because you're looking them right in their eyes. Right? You're talking to them in person. So, but go ahead, Chasa.
Charles, is there an app that you can suggest or a program that you can suggest that we could use if we go to the truck stops and have the driver like sign on the spot a contract or anything? Because I've always struggled with that. That's why I haven't been to any truck stops yet.
I was going to introduce this later on, but yeah, I didn't want to mention it, but I am, and I didn't even tell Douglas this. I am designing an app right now, and it's going to revolutionize the dispatching carrier relationship. That's all I can say.
And it allows you to do that function though.
It allows you to do that plus and then some.
Oh, wonderful.
I'm putting so much money into this thing. So it's an investment. So let's just say that. But it's because of the different experiences that's going on out here, I'm putting it into an app form to be able to streamline that process and make it more efficient and remove some of those barriers. Douglas, you shaking your head because you kind of understand where I'm going with it. So um yeah, it's coming out. I'm coming out with that. So that's going to be woo. I know I'm going to get a lot of calls. I'm putting my wife to work because it's just her and I. She's going to be doing the back end stuff. I'm definitely going to need help once that's launched because it's crazy. Because the reason why is transportation is not going anywhere. It's just evolving and change. It changed forms with the season and with the economy and with tariffs and things like that. But once it comes back with a vengeance. Like once these tariffs are released and things are getting easier between the parties, once Trump gets his basketball back from China and he plays fair, release the tariffs, things will be a little bit easier. All those containers and those vessels that are sitting off the East Coast and the West Coast ports waiting to bring those containers in and deliver these freight, it's going to have an influx of need for trucks. Those containers are not going to get off those ships and walk themselves to the distribution centers for delivery. They got to be delivered, right? So that's going to the concept of in economics called supply and demand. That's going to raise the demand for capacity trucks. The supply is already there. It's just that the supply is sitting off the coast of our ports on the east and west coast. Supply is already there. It's just waiting to get into the country. So. But yeah, I have a development team that we have meetings. I shouldn't have brought it up, but Chauncey, you started something. But matter of fact, I was going to talk to Darren a lot about that a little bit, but Darren is busy with what he's doing. He and I had a conversation, so yeah. But yeah, there is an app for that. So go ahead, Damon.
I had a question. I was listening to an older video that you did. I listened to it a few days ago, and you was talking about when you were dispatching and you had about over 30 trucks. How did that work? As far as did you go to like a trucking company and the trucking company dispersed the loads to each driver, or I was kind of confused of how that's done
Right.
when you're dealing with a trucking company that has assets.
That's a great question. So what the video you saw was me on episode 106 or 108 of the Truck and Hustle podcast with Ramel. And yes, I did. So I did not dispatch 36 trucks by myself
Right.
simultaneously.
Right.
I dispatched 7 to 8 carrier companies who had multiple trucks that added up totally to 36 trucks.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't explain it like that. So when I say I dispatched 36, people say, wow, how did you do that by yourself? No, what I should have did was further explain it. And I should have put a disclaimer in the show notes of Mel's video. But I dispatched for like 7 or 8 carriers who had a fleet of trucks here and there. So I would find loads for 2 or 3 carriers or 2 or 3 trucks in one fleet, loads for 6 or 7 trucks in the other fleet, things like that. So I didn't dispatch for all 36 simultaneously because I would drove myself insane. Right.
Right.
So that's
Right.
impossible. I'll be the first to say one dispatcher can handle and make decent money. I would say anywhere between 3 to 5 trucks decently without having to hire someone as a sub dispatcher to come under their company.
Mhm.
That is the logical assessment of a dispatcher, in my opinion. Have I seen people do more? Of course I have. I've seen people handle by themselves 10 trucks. But what they did is they put 5 trucks, let's say they had 5 flatbeds and 5 dry vans. So they put the 5 flatbeds under the same broker and gave that one broker capacity with 5 trucks. Well, that broker is happy because now he has a source of 5 trucks. And when he gets loads from his shippers, he can just reach out to you, dispatcher, and get one of your 5 trucks. Or if he has 5 shipments, he can get all 5 of your trucks. And now all 5 of your guys is happy. And I'm assuming that's what Douglas is doing. He's probably putting those flatbeds under maybe similar brokers or
Okay.
one broker who's running them either in different lanes, but it's the same broker. Douglas, you're probably onboarding those 4 flatbeds for that one carrier under one broker, and then whenever they need capacity in different lanes, they'll run. Okay, that's because that makes more sense. It's more efficient, right? You don't want to be bouncing back and forth from broker here, broker there, broker there. If it,
Hmm.
if it were me, I would put him under one main broker, onboard him with the one, and you'll figure out over time which brokers are better than other brokers based off of the level of service you get from them, the ability to negotiate with them, and how fair they are in their rates. Once you get
And
that,
also,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Also, would that be more of a greater chance of you getting a dedicated lane?
Ding, 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 ding. Because
Uh-huh.
listen, and so if I'm a broker and you're my dispatcher, either Douglas or you, Damon, and you bring to me capacity, I say capacity because that's the word they like to use, but trucks.
Right.
You're providing trucks to me consistently all the time, and I can rely on you when I get new customers. If I get a new customer that gives me a year contract for dedicated freight, guess who I'm going to call first? I'm going to call the person or email the person who gave me the capacity more consistently.
Right.
And let's say I have more than one dispatcher who has multiple trucks. I'm going to call the one that give me the trucks whose drivers do what's called OTP and OTD, on time pickup, on time
On
delivery.
time delivery.
There's no issues. I ain't got to worry about claims. I ain't got to worry about calling the dispatcher or calling the driver, doing what's called a check call and making sure everything's up to date. Because as a broker, you want to track the movement of that shipment while that carrier is under it and he's onboarded with your brokerage, because that's a requirement of your customer. Your customer requires you, broker, to give them updates on the movement of that truck while it's being transported, the shipment's being transported from shipper to receiver. That's a common requirement. So if you can provide that to a broker on a steady basis and you have a fleet of trucks consistently doing that, guess what's going to happen? You are going to be rewarded with dedicated freight. What is dedicated
Mhm.
freight? That's consistent loads that you always know where it's being picked up from, you always know where it's being delivered to, and you have what's called leverage to negotiate more money with the rates. You have leverage. Go ahead, Chasa.
Doug, please shoot me an email with your phone number. Let's get together. I have some brokers that deal with flatbeds, so I want to help you out.
You talking to me or Douglas?
I'm talking to Doug. Just letting him know to shoot me an email so I can hook him up with some brokers.
Okay. Yeah, my customer in Virginia Beach, Douglas, deals with flatbeds as far as the fertilizer. And we do truckloads, 44,900 pounds, basically a full truckload, 22 pallets, uh, yeah, 880 bags, 22 pallets, 44,900 pounds, full truckloads. We have 9 different blending plants, which means we have 9 different shipments per week. Honia Path, South Carolina, Mount Jackson, Virginia, what's that? Martins Ferry, Ohio, Montrose, Pennsylvania, Catoosa, Oklahoma, Phoenix, Arizona, Vista, California, Phoenix, Arizona. I'm naming all the locations that I've already done quotes for, that I've already done shipments with. I can bring them up. The reason why I don't bring them up because it's a conflict of interest. I can't show because there's privatized data on there. I can't show on a recording Zoom call, right? So you guys understand that. That's just legal stuff. But I can tell you where they are, right? What else did I say? Katusa. What else? Yeah, we're all over the place. So, and the rates are at least $3 a mile, at least for a flatbed. And I do the quotes. When I send quotes, emails, I send it to 9 different 3PLs or brokers. They come back with the, now I'm putting my shipper hat on when I'm working with them. I'm a consultant for them. So, I send the email out to request for quotes. They come back with the quotes for the lane. And of course, as a shipper, you take the lowest number. You want to save money because you want to get your product, your finished product from your shipping facility to your customer who ordered it to their facility at the cheapest rate. You want to save on freight costs as a shipper, but still be able to pay the broker to pay the carrier. But you still want to, and as a shipper, you're passing that cost to the customer. You're rolling it into the invoice to the customer. So I'm seeing the game from all angles now. I'm seeing it from the shipper angle. I already know it from the broker angle and the carrier and the dispatcher angle. So now I have a more well-rounded perspective on this whole thing, this whole ecosystem, if you will. So, for me, I think it's more advantageous for me to consult other shippers and say, hey man, I can save you on your cost, your freight costs, getting your products to your customers who order the product. We can either do it directly with a trucking company or we can leverage a broker. I can still save you on the bottom line. I know the lanes. I can get quotes from the 3PLs, make sure we get the lowest number, and then make sure those products get there on time because I got experience doing it. So I can leverage that to bring more customers, more shippers on. Because I'm doing it every day now. I've been doing it for the past month and a half. And it's the same thing over and over and over again, right? I go into QBO, QuickBooks Online. I go into our OAI system, orders against inventory. I do inventory management. What else we do? We do CIS, cost input systems. I mean, we do everything. I do a lot of data analysis, Douglas, a lot of data analysis. So, yeah. So I'm seeing every perspective. So there's not a question that I can't answer from a shipper's perspective, broker's perspective. Well, I can't say there's not a question I can't answer, but there's few that's going to get past me, in other words. So
Charles, this company, this shipper that you're working for, and I'm sorry because you may have said it before, they are not asset based.
they are
It's just
not
strictly a shipper.
They are not asset based. They use 3PLs. Now, what I want to do with them, I say, why don't we just become our own 3PL and then onboard carriers and save on costs of paying 3PLs and keep everything in-house. And they're considering that. They said, well, if we start a brokerage, are you going to manage that? I'm like, are you going to pay me? Because if you pay me, I'm just gonna sub it out to a team, some of my students, like you guys, that already know the stuff. I'll just sub it out. Look, I got this fertilizer company. We just created our 3PL. 3PL is a third-party logistics. That's just another name for a broker, a freight broker. That's all 3PL is. Third-party logistics. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 PLs. 1 PL, 2 PL, 3 PL, 4 PL, and 5 PLs. So the 3 PLs are the most common ones. They are the third-party logistics. Those are the freight brokers. Third-party logistics. They handle third-party logistics because they get the freight from a third party, the customer, and they provide logistics to trucks. That's what you guys, if you were going to be a broker, if you're going to pivot into brokering, that's what you will be doing. You are a third-party logistics provider. You source the freight from the customer and you outsource it to the motor carrier. Does that make sense? You source the freight from the customer, the shipper, and you outsource it to the trucking companies. And you get paid a margin or a profit margin for that. That's how it works, guys. Literally. That's how it lives. So I'm going to give it to you in the realest perspective possible. Right? I'm going to give it to you in the realest perspective. You source the freight from the shippers and you outsource it to the freight has to move. A finished products has to move. It has to move from the shipping facility because a customer ordered it, and it has to get to a receiving facility to the customer who ordered it because they're paying for it, right? So your job as a broker or a trucking company, you could be a trucking company like Mr. Douglas has a trucking company with 4 flatbeds, a fleet. So if you have a shipper who doesn't use brokers, they just go directly to the trucking companies. Well, then the trucking companies will source the freight from the shipper and use themselves to outsource it to the receiver, as opposed to a broker. But at some point, it has to be sourced and outsourced, whether it's from the direct trucking company or the broker. It still has to follow that same path. Okay? Go ahead, Chelsea.
Charles, in Douglas's position, can he actually now, Jesus, I'm sorry. It's been a weekend, guys. In his position, can he now reach out directly to shippers since he's not quote unquote a dispatcher?
Yes, he can. He's the logistician for a trucking company. Or he manages logistics for this trucking company. He wants to outsource, he wants to provide capacity to you, Mr. Shipper, and outsource our trucks to your facility to move the freight to your customer's facility. Yes, he can do that.
Oh, okay, Doug. That logistician is sounding better and better now. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
That's what it's supposed to do.
Yeah. So the end goal with this dispatcher. So a dispatcher is the easiest entry point into this ecosystem we call transportation and logistics, right? You come in as a dispatcher, but at some point you're going to evolve, right, or pivot into more advanced, or I guess dare I say intermediate uh things like brokering, trucking companies, managing stuff like that. So what Mr. Douglas is in a position, and I think he realizes it, he has a fleet of trucks, one trucking company, and he can leverage that to target direct customers as opposed to sourcing his capacity through brokers. He can source his capacity directly to the customer and eliminate the brokers and keep more of the money to the trucking companies. That's the end goal. Keep more of the money in-house. Don't let the brokers eat off of that. If you have capacity where you can afford to eat, your trucking company can eat without using the broker, and if you have the ability to do that, then by all means, go for it. Because now you're keeping, your margins are coming up. You're making more money. You're bringing more money to the trucking company, which in turn are going to pay you accordingly too, because you benefited them by eliminating 20, 25, 30% of that tender that would have went to the broker. Now it's coming back home. And I'm sure they're going to give you a portion of that. Jennifer said, then Douglas becomes a broker. Yeah, Douglas, you make a great broker. Yeah, you make a good broker. But, I mean, baby steps, right? Baby steps.
Yes, sir. Baby steps. Crawl before you walk. Yeah, I'm really learning a lot. Yeah, because with 4 different drivers, you got 4 different personalities that you also have to manage.
Correct.
So what if one wants to run long, another one wants to run short, one's in between? I'm also managing personalities to get everybody on the same page as well. So yeah.
So is it important that they all understand the end goal of the company overall, though?
Yep, that's the goal. One of the things I did is I talked with each individual driver, letting them know how I'm there to help. I don't force dispatch. And once I was letting them know how I operate and how I move, I was asking them how do they operate, how they move within the regions operating under the authority of, of the person whose authority they're operating on.
Right.
So I got everybody pretty much on the same page, and I know how everybody likes to move. And so that's when I started sourcing loads when everything was going on. it pretty much fit their style, but still stayed in compliance with what the client wanted.
Okay.
So I pretty much had everybody communicating from the bottom up and then from the top down. Everybody's on the same sheet of music. So, and then there were some aspects to where I was sending three of those flatbed trucks all in the same direction. Like when I talked with the broker and I asked them, hey, is this load available for $2,500? They were like, yeah. I'm like, okay, well, how many of them do you have?
Correct. There you go.
He said, I got three. I'm like, well, hey, I got three flatbed drivers who are empty right now, which are about 50 miles away from you.
There you go.
So can I get 2,800? And then he was like, and here's what they say. Well, the shipper is not going to go any more than that 2,500. I'm
Liar.
like, man, I really can't help you then. I'm like, I got three drivers who are 50 miles away from you, but I can't help you because at the end of the day, I got three drivers and I already got other brokers who want my three drivers. So, and they're offering 28. And he was like, okay, let me call you right back. I'm like, you do that. About 10 minutes later, he called right back. Hey, I talked with the shipper. We can do it. Yeah, you could have done it from the first get-go. I was just hustling.
Yeah. Well,
because you don't know. You don't know. As the broker, if I tell you you got three flatbed trucks right now to move that load for you, and all I want is an extra couple $100, which eats into your target rate, you got a choice. Take it or leave it.
Yep.
So now I just made my guys $300 extra dollars each. And you still got those trucks moved. You still got those commodities moved. So it's a win for me. It's a win for you.
Oh, side note too, guys. This coming Wednesday, I'm going to be on the E-Carrier Check podcast, talking with them, Nate and Jared. So we're going to do another one. We did one about a year or two ago, but they reached out to me and they want to do another one. So I'll just enlighten them on the shipper side of what I've been doing recently, give them an update, what's going on, and then we'll talk about their products and updates to their product too, and we'll go from there. So I think it's Wednesday at 11 a.m. that he's going to go live with that, interview me on the podcast. So his podcast is growing actually. I'm thinking about doing a podcast. Everybody's doing a podcast now. You got homeless people doing podcasts, but I'm gonna come out with a podcast and the podcast is going to probably, if you guys want to be on it, it probably involve you guys. We'll do our podcast will be our live. We can have a live Zoom podcast. Imagine how popular that would be. So, and we're talking about what we are talking about right now in the podcast. So, but any final questions? Welcome, Chaucer. Anytime. I gotta call Darren because I want to get an update with him. Where he told me what was going on. So, but I'll call him. Is he there or is he out and about?
He's here.
Okay. Yeah, I gotta come to the Poconos and come to that big mansion. Visit that Adams family house you guys got. But yeah.
Is that what it is? Absolutely. Have a great day, Charles.
Okay, you too.
I have a question, Charles.
Yes.
Do you have any context or where I have a driver that needs to rent well, right now he's in a situation he wants to rent a container or trailer, a flatbed. Do you have any context where I can possibly lead him?
Okay, so you ask the question, two-part question. So he's trying to rent a flatbed, or is he trying to get a? Because you said container.
He has three three dry vans.
Okay.
And I guess as far as he was doing loads for a company, they were providing the containers to him. but he's terminating the contract with them
Okay.
and now wants to get his own containers.
Okay, so he has a drive-in trailer. So I'm assuming if he's going to do container work, he's going to drop the trailers, grab a chassis in order to transport the containers. Because
Yeah,
right,
yes.
yeah, containers don't go on a drive-in, they go on the chassis.
Okay.
So if he has three, so he has three drive-ins. Do he have drive-in truck and trailers?
No, he does not have the trailers.
So he has three drive-in trailers, but one tractor.
Yes.
Mm.
Okay. So I'm trying to make sure I'm understanding. So he has one, matter of fact, let me go to the,
Seems like he has one complete system and two trailers. Yeah.
that's what it sounds like, but let me make sure. Because she said drive-ins. Should be good. You're 757, right?
Yes. No, I'm 804, but I'm like maybe 40 minutes from 757.
Okay. I thought I saw 757 on that, but uh
So he has three drive-ins
so he has three of these.
without the yes, but he doesn't have any chassis. He was renting those.
So chassis and drive-ins are two different things, right? So he has these drive-in box trailers, right? These right here.
No, he doesn't have any of those.
Okay, so 'cause when you say drive-in, that's what I was thinking. So he doesn't have a 53-foot drive-in.
He's looking to rent or well, he said he's not in a situation to purchase it right now.
Okay, so is he trying to run the ports or is he trying to do over the road?
He's transitioned from doing the ports to over the road.
Okay. So he has his own tractor. He owns his own tractor.
Yes.
Okay. And if he's going to do containers, then he's going to need a chassis,
Okay.
okay, to pick up the containers. So what a
Mhm.
chassis is, let's go to that images.google.com because I'm not sure if you are aware of what a chassis is, but I can show you.
Yeah, I know what it is, but you could show me also to make sure I'm on the right track.
Right. So a
Yeah.
chassis trailer.
hmm
So a chassis trailer is used to transport. So this is a container on top of a chassis trailer.
hmm
This is a chassis trailer. Okay. There are different companies that has chassis trailers. DCLI, Track Intermodal, and FlexiVan. Those are the top three chassis companies. DCLI is number one. DCLI. FlexiVan,
hmm
FlexiVan, and they're number one based off of the number of units they have. DCLI, FlexiVan, FLEXI dash van, VAN, Flex,
hmm
and then Track Intermodal, Track TRAC dash Intermodal, INTERMODAL. Those are the top three chassis companies out there. So if he wants to get into intermodal, he's going to have to, I guess, either rent or purchase a chassis through one of those companies, or go to us if you're going to do the ports. Ports usually have what's called a chassis pool, where you can go into the port and get and lease a chassis there to grab a container. So it's up to him. If he wants to get his own chassis, he don't have to worry about waiting in line when he gets to the port to get to the pool to get one, which is going to hold his day up. If he has his own chassis, he just go in there, in gate, get the container, and he can get out of there. Right?
Hey,
Um,
Charles,
yes.
can because some of those containers are like 40 feet. Can a flatbed trailer that has container locks on it, can that serve the same as the chassis, or is the
It
chassis
can.
more
It
preferred?
it can, but most shipping lines, for the safety of their chassis and their commodity, they require regular chassis so they can go in there, configure it correctly onto the chassis. They
Yes, sir.
the shipping lines require like Maersk, OOCL. They require these chassis need to be moved because you got 40-foot ISO boxes, you got 20-foot ISO boxes, you got 40 and 20-foot regular chassis as well. So the difference between well, I don't want to get into that. We'd be here all day between ISO boxes and standard, but yeah, most shipping lines require. It's only when you're moving empty containers that you may be able to possibly use a flatbed. But when you're hauling loaded containers that just get off the ship line with a gantry crane and a reach stacker, it has to go on the chassis and get locked in because you got somebody's commodity and you don't want to run the risk of it sliding off with a regular flatbed, even though it has mechanisms to lock in the chassis. So if your guy, Shamika, is trying to do the ports with the chassis, he has his own power unit. He just
Mhm.
he just needs a chassis trailer in order to be able to access the ports to grab a container. Am I sounding is that
Yes, yes.
okay?
So how can I find out how to, I guess I need to educate myself on chassis pools
Well,
from the port.
you do, but your carrier needs to do it more so than you. Your carrier needs to, does he access the port now or he's getting ready to,
Yes, he accessed the ports now.
so then he should already know, where does he go? The Port of Virginia? Norfolk?
Yes. Norfolk.
Yeah, yeah.
So he knows, but I guess he's trying to get from under them. He doesn't want to do the ports anymore.
Oh, okay. So what does he want to do then? If he doesn't want to do the ports, then there's no point in getting a chassis.
I just want to educate myself.
Okay, he's going to educate.
That was yeah, that was the purpose for me because when he mentioned it, I'm a little familiar of the chastity, but he wants to, because all the freight that I'm finding, they're requiring him to have his own container, and he doesn't have it because he was using, I guess he was going through the port pool, getting
Oh,
the chassis and doing that.
I'm confused now. You said the freight that you're so where you're finding the freight that requires a container. What are you looking at a load board? Are you looking at load match?
Yes.
That's a
Uh-huh.
load board. That's a load board you're looking at. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're
Low.
looking at load match. So load match, guys, for those who don't know, load match is the number one load board for containerized and dredge freight, containerized freight. So if you're looking at load match, then he's going to have to continue to use a chassis and access the ports. He's going to have UIIA, which gives him access to the port. He's going to have a SCAC code, which is SCAC, Standard Carrier Alpha Code, to identify his truck with that alphanumeric number. And his driver, if it's not him, whoever's driving that tractor, is going to have to have what's called a TWIC card, Transportation
So
Worker Identification.
so he has it. He has his quick card. We got the his medical card. We've been working on some. So he has pretty much all of that stuff.
So is he
So he,
running under someone else's UIIA and SCAC or his own?
yes, he's running under someone else's
Okay.
right now.
Okay. So now it's getting more complicated. Okay. So and he doesn't want to do that.
No.
So if he doesn't want to do that, but yet still pick up containers, then he has to get his own. Is that what you're saying? He still wants to, he doesn't want to run under them, but he still wants to get containers. That's what you're saying?
It's gonna get a little more confusing. So I have my own authority.
Oh my God. Oh Lord.
See, see. So I think is gonna be a conversation for not just for because it gets a little more
Okay,
complicated
so I'll
than
tell
that.
you what, for the sake of time in this particular training, let's table that. Let's you and I and the gentleman set up a call offline to talk about it, okay? You
Okay.
text my number of when you have availability next week to give me, or we can wait till if he can come into Wednesday's class, your friend or whoever the person is, the gentleman,
Mhm.
we can talk about it in the class because it'll be beneficial for the other students to hear it anyway, right? It's a learning
Yeah.
because some of these students here may get into finding freight for carriers who run the ports. You never know. That's called dredge, right?
Yes.
And intermodal, dredge and intermodal. So, yeah. So I think that'd be more benefit. You guys cool with that? Like Wednesday's class, we can talk a little bit about that. Dredge, intermodal, because that's another segment of transportation. So why not educate ourselves about that, right?
Yes.
Never know. So yeah, get in touch with your friend and see if he's willing to come into Wednesday's class. You can give him the Zoom credentials, or you can just send me the email and I'll send it to him. Wednesday
Okay.
Wednesday night at 6 p.m.
Okay, I'll talk to him and see what he says, and I'll give you a text
And if he doesn't want
and
to do
let you
that, then
know.
if he doesn't want to do that, then we can set up a separate call offline to do it, right? Because we want to make sure I want to make sure I'm properly understanding what he wants. Now, you say you have your own authority. I'm assuming as a motor carrier or as a broker.
As a motor carrier as of now, because I'm running out of money. So,
So, are you a common carrier of property except household goods?
no, I'm just general freight.
Yeah, that's a common. I'm sorry. So yeah, general
Yeah,
freight is a common carrier of property except household goods. So yeah, you are
yeah,
general freight.
yeah.
Okay. So okay. So wait a minute. What in the world? So you in a dispatch course too? Okay. So I'm confused more now. Okay.
I'm trying to learn the aspects of every different level. I'm just educating myself at this point.
So is the gentleman willing to run under your? So first of all, how old is your authority?
Um, my authority is only 2 months.
2 months. Is he willing to when he leaves, whoever he's leaving, he's willing to come under your authority?
Yes, he's waiting for me.
Okay.
He's calling me every day for me to
So
get,
can I
what I need to.
can I be real with you? Your authority is active, right?
Yes.
The risk that he's going to take coming out of that authority, coming under yours, is the issue with the age, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Getting loads and things like that. But we'll cover that in the conversation. I can connect you guys with some resources I have that'll make your life a whole lot easier once we have that conversation. Okay.
Okay.
All right, guys. Man, that was interesting.
Good
But
stuff.
that's what we're here to learn, guys. We're here to learn.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Learn something new every class, right?
That's
Like
right.
when you
Good
think you've
stuff.
seen it and heard it all, you'll find another curveball.
Even me, I'm like, wait a minute. She was throwing monkey wrenches. I was bobbing and weaving different. I seen the monkey wrench come from the left side, had to bob to the left, to dodge the one.
See, my intentions was not to dump all of that on you at one time, but
Man, I feel like that cartoon character on Buzz. You know, the anvil falling from the sky, bing, falling on top of my
Uh-huh.
head. Like, so
And
yeah,
that lump come up.
yeah, the lump come up on my head. I'm like, oh my god, but that's cool. Listen, I love challenges. I have two mentors, 38-year-old carrier, 30-something-year-old broker. I just met with him, but Mr. Irwin. But yeah, if I can't answer a question, I got people who can answer the question. So I'm not even concerned about not answering the question. We'll get the question answered and the situation resolved. It's not an issue. I was just I was just getting it from different. I'm like, wow, Shamika coming at me left and right. I'm like, okay, dear. I like that, but that's cool. So,
When you on your toes, huh?
yeah, definitely. That keeps me young. So, anyone else have any questions? We got 1 minute before we get off here. We good, guys? Next class will be Wednesday, uh, at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We check out our calendar. And let me minimize the screen again. I had blew it up for the image. But yeah, Wednesday the 27th at 6 p.m. Eastern. And we'll go from there, okay?
okay.
Yeah, just let me know either text or email Shamika whether or not your guys be able to make it there, and then we'll from that point we'll schedule from there, okay?
Okay.
All right, guys. Thanks as always. I appreciate your time. Thanks, Mr. Douglas. Thanks for all the
Thank
participants.
you, Charles.
Ellis, Damon.
Take care, everybody.
Damon, thank you, Damon. Damon was the first person to donate it to the GoFundMe fund to try to keep the Exodus. I'm sitting in my Exodus Logistics Learning Center right now, but we're trying to keep this going because my lease I did a 3-year lease, is up in I gotta let them know in September whether I'm gonna continue or not. My wife says you shouldn't continue. I said, well, I don't want to give it up because this is a nice area and it's a nice in-person training area and the location was good. So, but I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do, right? If you gotta give it up, you gotta give it up. It is what it is. So, but yeah, Damon donated $50, which is cool. I don't, you know, it is what it is. So, but okay, guys.
Wait a minute. I had that up.
I appreciate your time, and I'll see you on Wednesday. Hey, Amy, how you doing? Amy was quiet today. You like a little ninja over here. You ain't say a word. I didn't know you was throwing stars at me or what. What's going on?
Hi guys. I didn't know. Oh, you was talking about the replies that kept coming on the board.
Uh-huh.
What did you say, Charles?
I said you said you was quiet.
I was what?
Quiet. I didn't hear a
Oh,
word.
quiet. Oh, I'm learning. I'm new.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm learning. I don't know you know what I mean?
Yeah. So if you trust me, if you have any questions while you got me here or even offline, please ask the questions. Okay. Whether it
Yes, I do, but I'll wait till next class because it's time to go now, y'all.
right. And then whether it's a topic that we're currently talking about or a question about navigating the website, where to go for what, or anything.
Oh, you said tell you now or when we have the next class?
We can do it Wednesday. Write all your questions down,
Okay,
and then we'll go
okay,
from there. Okay.
okay.
All right,
Mm-hmm.
guys. Thank you again. I'll see you Wednesday.
All right, y'all have a good evening.
Bye bye.
All right.